my most amazing artist. I hope you are having an awesome day today. Welcome to week 3 of our Shape Robots. I'm super excited for this week because we get to give our robot some personality. And you might notice I have a couple things in front of me that I'm going to use to give him some personality. And some materials that I have are some buttons. I have some googly eyes if you want to give him some googly eyes. I have some paper clips, just anything that I found around my classroom. And if you're at home, you can look around your house and maybe you have some buttons or maybe stickers or gems or something like that that you can stick on or collage onto your robot. But like I said, all I have is some googly eyes, some buttons, and some paper clips. To stick this stuff onto my robot, I have some glue, and this is my little glue cup, and a glue brush. If you don't have this kind of glue at home, then you can just use a glue stick or a glue bottle. I have some metallic pens here because when I think of a robot, I think of like metal and they're kind of shiny. So I want to use some metallic pens to add other details to my robot today. If you don't have anything like this, then maybe you have a silver Sharpie or metallic Sharpie that you could use. Otherwise, if you don't have anything that's shiny or metallic to draw with, then you can just use regular markers. Since I'm gluing today, I do have a messy mat under my work so I don't get any sticky mess on my table. All right, and that is everything that we're going to need today, so let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm going to choose some googly eyes. If you don't have googly eyes, then you can just draw your eyes on. But I think I want to use some googly eyes, and before I glue anything down today, I'm just gonna place it on my paper to see if I like the way that it looks. If you go ahead and glue it down, then you can't change it later. So I like to play around with my objects before I collage them onto my paper to make sure that I'm happy with their placement. And when I'm happy with the way it looks, then I can go ahead and glue it down. So maybe your robot has just one eye. Maybe he has 2 eyes, or maybe he has 3 eyes. That's totally up to you. The only thing when we're choosing our eyes is we don't want to add too many eyes because we have to share these googly eyes with our friends and we want to make sure that everybody has enough. So maybe you could do 3 or 4, but I wouldn't go over the amount of 4 eyes because then we might not have enough for everybody in the classroom. So you could do 3, you could do 4, you could do 2 if you want it to look normal, or you could just do 1 eye. I think I want my robot to have 3 eyes. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. So when you're happy with the placement, what you're going to do is pick up your object and you're gonna grab a little bit of glue. We're not gonna paint it on the back of our object. Instead, we're just gonna put a little dot of glue where we want our object to go. And then I'm gonna press it down right on that glue dot, and I'm gonna hold it down and count to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right, you might have noticed I only did a little dot of glue because we don't really need that much. All right, let's glue down my second eyeball. I'm just gonna place a little dot of glue down where I want his eye to go, and then I'm going to press it down on the glue, and I'm gonna count to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And I'll do the same for his third eye. All right, I have all 3 of my eyes glued down, and today, we usually do a wiggle test whenever we're cutting and gluing things together to make a collage. Well, we're not gonna do a wiggle test today because we're gluing 3D objects like buttons and googly eyes and paper clips. We're gluing 3D things to a 2D piece of paper. So it's gonna take a little while for this glue to dry and for these objects to be stuck on 100%. So I'm scared if we try to do a wiggle test, all your stuff will probably fall off. So we wanna leave it flat on the right side. Don't flip it upside down and give it a little wiggle like we normally do because we want these objects to stay in place. If they are moving around a little bit, I recommend just don't touch them. The glue will dry eventually and that stuff will be stuck in place 100%. So I have his eyes on, and now I'm just gonna play around with what I have at my table here, and I am going to start placing things down where I think I might want them to go. So maybe I wanna put some buttons on his body here on each corner of this rectangle like this. Maybe I wanna add a few paper clips inside of that rectangle, or maybe I want to do paper clips on his elbows or something. You can really have fun and be super creative with this part of our project. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to arrange my 3D objects how I want them on my robot, and then I'll be right back to show you how I'm going to add a few other details using my metallic pens. I just finished gluing on all my 3D objects, my buttons, and my paper clips. And you might not have noticed in the time lapse that I just showed you, but for the paper clips, I used a little bit more than a dot because those are going to be a little bit trickier to glue down. So if you have objects at your table that are a little bit tricky to glue down, you might want to add a little bit more glue. But remember, it's not going to be stuck all the way until this glue dries 100%, which will take a little while. So just be patient with it, and if you add enough glue, once it dries, then your objects will not go anywhere. So I'm actually done gluing now, so all I need are my pens, and you can use just one color. You could use a couple colors if you have them available. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up one of my pens, and these objects are not 100% dry yet, so I have to be very careful when I'm adding my details to my robot, or while I'm drawing some more details on my robot. What I want to do is I just want to draw some lines maybe on his neck, and these are horizontal lines. You could draw lines going down his legs, and we're doing this just to add some more details using some lines, and maybe you want to add some shapes, so maybe you want to do some hearts going up his arm or something like this. You can really add whatever shapes or whatever lines that you want to. Maybe you could draw some shapes that you've learned about during this project, like a hexagon, a shape that has 6 sides. And maybe you have never drawn triangles before, so maybe you want to practice drawing some triangles. So whenever I do draw a shape though, I am filling it in to make it complete. And I am not rushing through this. I am taking my time, and I'm really looking at my robot and seeing what kinds of things I could add. So maybe if you have a couple colors, you could switch your colors. And I've done straight lines so far, so maybe I want to do a zigzag line in this leg of my robot. You could do zigzags, you could do wavy lines, you could do squares, you could do circles. There are so many lines and shapes to choose from while decorating your robot. But while I am drawing, I'm being very careful not to touch my 3D objects like the buttons and the paper clips, because I don't want those to move out of place. And I'm almost forgetting to give him a smile because I want my robot to be very happy. So he has a semicircle head, so I could use a semicircle to give him a smile. And if I draw a shape, I know I'm going to fill it in. If it's easier for you, you could also rotate your paper around to get to harder to reach areas. I like to do that a lot when I'm making art, is rotate my paper around so then these areas up here are a little bit easier to draw on. So maybe you will find that helpful while you are adding your details as well today. Alright, and actually I think I am done adding lines and shapes to my robot, and that means my robot is complete. So after you add all your 3D elements that you want to, and after you add your lines and shapes to your robot, then you will be done. Now, this glue is not dry yet, so we have to be super duper careful when we're handling our robots. So take them to the drying rack so that glue can dry 100%, and we will be done with our robots. I hope you guys had a lot of fun during this project, and I hope you've learned a lot about different shapes that you can use in your art. I can't wait to see how your final robots turn out. I know they're going to be amazing because you guys are amazing. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.